It's funny how they go from an awesome prequel of completely, almost entirely without Wolverine, which gains critical success, and then go for the complete opposite of that by gaining another success that's entirely about Wolverine. Lol. The Wolverine, directed by James Mangold, director of the latest Logan, and tells the story following right from the events of The Last Stand. Yes, they've gone from a prequel to a sequel to The Last Stand. Blimey, yeah, they really need to sort out the continuity with the X-Men films. So, yeah, the Wolverine tells the story of Logan feeling guilt of having to stab Jean in order to save everyone at the end of The Last Stand, and he has dreams about her really regretting what he did, and he has to travel to Japan to meet an old acquaintance, Yashinga, who's dying of cancer, and when Yashinga is killed, he and his granddaughter's life is in danger. Logan has to protect Kiddo, and they gradually form a bond in the process, and Logan has to also take down a deadly samurai, the Silver Samurai, and which escalates into a into a big climax, and so yeah, the Wolverine is a very interesting one for me. This is probably one of the X-Men movies I have seen the least. Don't get me wrong. In comparison to Origins, this is a masterpiece. It is a total big step up from Origins. This is almost an apology for Origins. But James Mangold did do a good job. But this certainly isn't one of my favourite X-Men movies by any means. It's not even close to one of the best in the series, but it's good. Not bad, James Mangold. For a first attempt, there's plenty to love here. Hugh Jackman is fantastic as usual in this movie. He's always been consistently great as Wolverine throughout the series, and this is his fifth to fourth outing as Logan Wolverine, and he's still got plenty of his mojo. I mean, he gives a much better performance here than he did in Origins, particularly because in Origins we barely knew anything about him, but here he goes on a much more personal journey, and we see him deal with the grief of having lost so much and having to deal with stabbing Jean, and to actually continue that, to see that grief, it's you really feel for the guy. You just want to be by his side. Though he's so sympathetic, it's a great way to continue from The Last Stand, trying to see him move on. And I love Marketo, Yoshida's granddaughter. She is totally kick-ass and can really stand up for herself, and goes on this personal journey with Logan, and the two do naturally bond and try and stay alive against the threat together, which is nice to see. Logan, even though they don't have a romantic connection, I'm glad Logan doesn't have another love interest, because he's had a lot of girls in his life, but they just form a friendship, which is probably the right way to go. And as for the antagonist, the Silver Samurai, who is actually, spoiler alerts, Yashinga himself, who wasn't actually dying of cancer, he just faked his own death, and his relationship and final confrontation with Logan is pretty darn epic, I must say. We actually got to see a more vulnerable side to Logan when he got his healing powers extracted from him, and Yashinga's son, who is also Markito's father, he obviously wants control of his grandfather's company and to inherit the will, which is why Markito's life is in danger. Uh, so he was a bit of a dick. Yeah, yeah, I like the villains in this movie and their personal connection to Logan and Marquito, our two protagonists, and the Japanese setting is marvelous. I'm glad we finally get to go to Japan in an X-Men movie. That's fascinating seeing a Japanese culture, and this movie has a very samurai feel to it, which we haven't gotten in the X-Men series before. If anything, if there's anything to remember about this movie, is that it's X-Men in Japan is what it could have been called, and Famke Janssen does reprise her role as Jean Grey, although she isn't in the film much. She's only in Logan's dreams, but her inclusion is powerful and really works as Logan is desperately trying to forget about her, and but it was great seeing her again all the same, because we haven't seen her since the Last Stand for 7 years, and the story is actually decent. It's a much better story than Origins. Oh, leagues better. It's actually a more personal struggle for him. We get to see him meet an older friend and bond with his granddaughter, and really get involved with his family. We learn more about his powers. Yeah, this movie was a better it's not a prequel, but we learn more about Logan in the sequel to Last Stand than in the prequel, which is incredibly ironic. I mean, and although I did say that this movie is not my personal favourite in the series, and yeah, there are definitely some issues with it that could have been corrected. First of all, the action is okay, but it's not the best in the series. I mean, the fight on the train, it's cool in parts, but it does look kind of green screened and CGI'd a bit, and not that realistic. And although I do like the samurai feel to the action, I will give it that. And although the movie is almost the right length, being at 2 hours as X-Men movies should be, it does have a couple of pacing issues at times. I mean, it could have been as solidly paced as X-Men 1 and 2. And while I do like the supporting cast, there isn't anybody really who particularly stands out as much as the other great X-Men characters in this saga. So yeah, if only there was if there was another X-Men character in this movie that really stood out, that was really cool, that would have been a great bonus. And the score is it's all right, but it's not one of the most memorable of the series. It's yeah, this movie really deserved a better score. And why the heck all of a sudden did they bring Charles back to life in the post-credit scene, but not Jean? I mean, if they were gonna, and in fact that just made Charles's killing off Charles in the Last Stand a bit pointless. If they weren't gonna kill him off entirely, why make us believe he was dead in the first place? But if Charles can come back to life, he might as well have brought Jean back to life as well. That would have made much more sense. But oh well. Although it is I guess it's an emotionally satisfying ending character-wise, seeing Logan moving on and letting go of his past and letting go of Jean. But I really think Jean could have come back as well. That would have, if they're bringing Charles back, she can come back too. I mean, if continuity isn't a thing in X-Men, anything is possible. But overall, the Wolverine, it's a decent standalone, very character-focused movie. I'm glad they made it to apologise for Origins. It's far from the best movie in the X-Men series. Flawed but enjoyable nonetheless, and thank goodness this movie did better at the box office than First Class did, so at least Fox got their money back and were able to improve the X-Men series as from here. I mean, it's a shame that First Class underperformed. Well, it's not surprising after Origins sucked, but glad people now realise that X-Men is back to its glory days. So yeah, even if the Wolverine probably won't be your personal favourite movie in the X-Men saga, I would still recommend it if you want a better experience than Origins. I give the Wolverine 3 stars out of 5. Well, next week, guys, Bryan Singer finally returns to the X-Men franchise. Yay! When I review Days of Future Past, which, spoiler alert, is fucking awesome. Well, I love you guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And what do you think of the Wolverine? Please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. I love getting new subscribers, making new friends and talking to you guys about movies. Really appreciate that. And please follow me on Twitter and on Google+. And I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.